Hello and welcome to my shop. In today's video we're going to be doing a step-by-step instructional video over the Porter Cable 4216 dovetail jig doing half blinds. First, let's mill some lumber. Now I've milled up actually 3 pieces. I'm going to want this is going to make the corner of my drawer, and this right here is going to be used for the sacrificial board behind the pin board or the tail board when we go to cut. It also helps balances this template in the jig. And before you put your actual work pieces in this jig, if you're not real familiar with just setting this jig up and just going right straight out of the box with it, I would suggest I'm using pine. I would suggest getting you some pine, some cheap plywood, something other that you can practice on, get this set up with. Now this is going to sound like probably a lot of steps to setting this up and operating this jig, but really it's not when you think about it. Some of the stuff that I'm going to cover, once you get it done, you're done. You don't have to do anything else. But now do keep in mind, these boards right here are 4 inches wide. If you're making drawers that are going to be like 3.5 inches deep and you got 4-inch sides, of course, your bottom's going to be in there. It's going to take up maybe a 1/2 inch or so of it from the bottom of it. But anyway, let's just say you got 4-inch boards. Once you set this jig up for that, you're good. You can do all your 4-inch boards off that one setting. And if you change to, say you got 4-inch drawers at the top and you got a couple 5 or a couple 6-inch drawers at the bottom of whatever piece of furniture you're building, you will need to reset this jig for each drawer size that you have. Now let me take just a second right here to let you know about this little centering template. This is Chad Abrams' invention, and it's a great invention. It don't work with the half blind dovetail template like it does with the through dovetail template. But you're going to want one of these anyway, and I'll show you why in just a little bit. I will have links in the description that will tell you, or that you can click on it to take you to the site where to buy this at. If you've got this jig, you need this template. Also, if you haven't, let me go ahead at this time to invite you to hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any other videos that comes out on my channel. And I also, let me let you know this too, and then we'll get on with this. I also have a playlist of videos, different techniques with this jig on how to do like sliding dovetails, through dovetails, box joints, stuff of that nature. And I've got videos, and there's an instructional video on how to use this. It's the only place that you can get it is on this channel. If you purchase this jig, you're going to want to watch that video. There's actually 3 different videos on this jig when we were prototyping it, but the last one, the last video, which will be the one I'll put a link to in the description of this video, is the instructional video for the how to use that template. It'll be at the bottom. There'll be cards at the end of this video and all that good stuff. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get on to doing some half blind dovetails. You're going to need your router. You're going to need your 1/2 inch. The bits that you got with this, they are just fine, but the only bit that you will need for half blinds is your dovetail bit and the 3/4 inch guide bushing that is for that bit. One more thing that you'll need to do with your router before you put your dovetail bit in it and before you put your guide bushing on it, if you haven't already centered your base plate, you will want that base plate centered. You will want to take every opportunity that you can to reduce the amount of possible errors that there can be. If you don't have the jig that it takes to center this base plate on here, I have a video on making one of these. There'll be a link in the description below that shows making one of these, and if you have a lathe or you have a buddy that has a lathe, you can make you one of those and they work perfect. And it in my video tells you how to line that base plate up. Now this third piece is just going to be a sacrificial board, and when I put these in, and it doesn't matter one of these is longer than the other, doesn't matter. Well, these are just practice pieces. But now if you wanted your drawer deep, your long ones would be on the side. That would be your dovetail boards. Your short ones be in the front, and that would be your pin boards. Or if your drawer is a wide drawer, then vice versa. Dovetails, pins. So get all that out of the way. And you will also want to pick out, when you're setting your drawer up, you will want to pick out which side of these boards. Of course, for this purpose, for what we're doing here today, it doesn't matter. But you will want to pick out which side of your board is going to be the outside of your casing. When you're making half blind dovetails, now I know with the through dovetail, I have a video on that. One's against the jig, one is away from the jig. On this one, half blinds, both of both boards, the outside of the board goes to the jig. So we're going to say this is the outside of my board, or the outside of my drawer. It goes toward the jig. We're going to just say this side is the outside of the drawer, so it's going to go toward the jig. Now what I like to do is put these boards all the way apart, get this template down, and don't worry about where it's set at right now. We just want it in there, and we want our template all the way down. Now I'm going to bring this one, which is actually a little bit too tight. We're going to bring it all the way over to the left. Now I'm going to take my key and lock this guide on the side and just pull it all the way to the left, out of the way. I'm going to show you what this looks like here just in a minute when I get all this done. Okay, so far what I've done real quick, I've taken this board from this side all the way over here, which I got this stabilized, and you can see that I'm touching all the way across. Every bit of this template is touching these two boards. This one's a sacrificial, this one right here is actually a workpiece. I've loosened this bracket up and slid it all the way over to my left, and I've brought this board up and made it flush with the pin boards. This is the tail board right here. And it looks like to me that it may be bowing just a little bit. We'll try to work around that. This board is wanting to kind of cup a little bit. But if you see this line right here on this, you're going to want to get that as close as you can to this line right here that's made by where these two boards are meeting each other. You're going to want to get that directly above that as close as you can. If it's not perfect, don't worry about it. If you can't get it on what you're satisfied with being on that line, adjust these, loosen these up just a little bit, and roll this one as so it pulls the jig towards you, and then tighten that back down. We would rather have this line further this way than further that way. If you look at the template, here's what the template does, and this is the same on all of these dovetail templates. If you move this template back, it's allowing that guide bushing to go deeper in, which is going to cause your tail to be cut deeper in. And when you put these together, your dovetails are actually going to be sunk into the pin board. So adjust it towards you to where this, you know, this is positively just slightly on the side of the line toward you. And then that way, when you cut those dovetails, they're not going to sink up into the sockets as deep. And when they don't, all you have to do is put them back in here, back it up just a little bit, and then cut it again, and keep doing that until you get that flush set on it. Now, something else too that I have discovered with my jig, and yours may not be like this, and it's a design flaw, or it's a flaw in one piece of mine. This bracket on mine, this offset in it, this offset that is from here to here, that's what these boards are going to line up against. And the offset from here to here on mine is slightly off from each other for the width of the bit that's cutting the dovetails. So that's why you need that centering template on this one, and I'll show you that in just a little bit, so bear with me on that. I have to do some adjustment on mine in order to make my sides of my boards, when the joint is put together, to make this side line up flush with this side of my boards, so my drawers are not setting cockeyed to each other. So now that I got all of that set, I'm going to take this board right here back out, and I'm going to mark center on it. And if you notice, this right here is the through dovetail template. This right here, when you've got your workpiece up in this, and you put this Chad's centering jig in there, you've got plenty of room because the tines are very long. If you've got this jig, look at it and you'll see what I'm talking about. The tines on the through dovetail template are longer, and you can stick this jig in this template this way. These right here, let me put this back in here real quick. These tines are a lot shorter. These tines right here are a lot shorter. You can't hang it on it. So we're going to mark center, but mark it up over the end, and I'll show you again what that looks like when I get done with it. But we're going to mark it up over the end, and this template is designed that if you have this magnet to your left, like I'm holding it right here, and you put it in that through dovetail template, that puts your etching against your board. The etching is actually on that side of it. So if you've got that magnet to the left, it's going to put your etching toward the board, and you don't have the thickness of that jig to deflect the mark. If you turn it around, you've got that thickness there, and that can mess you up. But you can't do that here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this template, we're going to turn it around and set it in there like that. The magnet will be on the right for the half blind dovetails only. And you see that line? We're going to line, that's center line. We're going to line it up with my mark that I put across the end of this board. And that will have me set for this one. And then I'll slide my bracket over and lock it down. I'll show you again real quick what that looks like once I get it all together. Alright, now here we are back. I've got my mark, and you can see that mark. And when you mark, like on your through dovetails or even this right here, don't mark halfway down your board, because then you're going to have to sand and cut that off, or plane it off, sand it off or something. Just mark just a small little bit, just enough that if you had the through dovetail template in there, when you slide this in there, you can line it up. And then your bit is going, because that's going to be right center of the pin, your bit will cut that out, and you've got absolutely no mark cleanup to do. So just mark it just a little bit. But now for this one, we're going to turn it like that and move this board back and forth to line up my mark that is on top of my board. We're going to line it up with that center mark on that, and then that's going to have that centered. Don't forget to slide your bracket back over and lock it down. And make sure that you are flush against your tail board, which is the one that is vertical in the front of the jig. And now this board, well, both of these boards actually, but this one, you're going to slide it all the way over till it touches that same bracket on the top of the jig, and then push it from the back to make sure that you are butted up with and flat and flush, touching everywhere all the way across the front. Then slide this one back over into it, and that will help save with blowout from when that bit exits the back of this, cutting that pin on, or tail on this board. It's going to pass through and cut those sides off. I recommend taking it and spreading them out and getting this template all the way down flat on these two boards first, and then you just snug it up to where it's not rocking. Because if this template is raised off of either one of these boards, that means it's at a slant. And when you pass your bit through there, when you go to pass it through, the side that is touching the boards, it's going to be full depth like it's supposed to be. But as you come across, those tails are going to get just a little bit shallower and shallower because they're not going down in there as far as they should be, because your template is off of your workpiece some. It's tilted, so make sure that it's all the way down. I hope that makes sense. Okay, before I put my dust mask and all that stuff on, let me explain to you what I'm going to do. I'm going to, now I went ahead and lined this up again the bracket, knowing good and well that my bracket is off. It has been off since I bought it. It was made that way. The side that gauges this tail board wasn't cut quite hardly as deep as the one on the front. So when I take these out and put them together, there's about, in the neighborhood of about a 1/16 of an inch difference in them. One board will be set to one side of the other about a 1/16 of an inch, and that's not what you want. And I've had to compensate for that ever since I had this, because I've got no way of machining that down. So I'll show you what I do in order to get this like I need it. And it's also another reason why with this through dovetail, that this right here is so, or this not through dovetail, but half blind dovetail, this little template right here from Chad is, it's needed. It's very, very much needed. But first I'm going to take my router, plunge it down, get my bit depth set. After I set my depth, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to cut from my right to my left, making a, and I'll show you what that looks like, making a shallow climb cut all the way across the front. That's to help save with tear out. I'm going to come from right to left, and then I'm going to start plunging in and go all the way back from left to right, going back cutting the pins and tails. Now this is what it'll look like in the jig, and half of this is going to be into the sacrificial, well actually this whole socket here is into that sacrificial board, but this is what it looked like. And when you take this out and you put the dovetails into the sockets, if they don't go deep enough, just back this template up just slightly, creeping up on it just a little at a time. If you see one side is getting deeper than the other, make note of how it's in the jig and how which one is not in its right place, and you can adjust the jig on either side to compensate for that. But if you've got them anywhere remotely close, these lines right here with that line but that's made where the two boards butt up, if you've got them remotely close, you should be good. If they go in just a little bit too far, you would need to back it back out just a little bit. All right, we're going to take those out, put them together, see how they line up, which I know that the edges of the board should be slightly off from each other just a little bit. I know that going into it. I'll have to compensate for that. If yours does that, maybe not all of them do that. And mine only does it on half blinds. But if yours does that, I'll show you how I compensate for that and try to help you get through that. When I take this tail board out, or the dovetail board out, this is my outside of my drawer. That is the side that is going against the jig, okay? Now take this one out. That's the outside of the board that was against the jig, and they'll go together just like that. Right there, you can see how much that is off. So with the way that this is, my pin board is this is exaggerated. This pin board is actually this way just a little bit. So what I would want to do, it's sticking over on that side, so this is like this in my jig. I need this board to go to my left, oh so slightly, just real slightly. So actually I need to cut these off, center this one back up with my centering template, and that'll get it where it's at. I'll break this bracket loose, move it over what I think, or if I took the time to use some filler gauges or something, I could see how much it is actually over, and then move this bracket. Once I get my tailboard set, move this bracket to my left that much, whatever the filler gauge says that it's hanging over, and then tighten it down and line. My tailboard is lined up, centered by my template, so I know it's back in the jig exactly where it goes, exactly where it's at. That's why that little template is so important. And then I can move my bracket and line it up where I need it and start cutting again. Let me cut these right here off and I'll be right back. All right, I've just cut the pins. Of course, these are practice boards. I've cut the pins and the tails off of them. I'm gonna put my, well, I need to center it. Go ahead and center it. And since we're doing half lines, we're going to bring that mark up over the end. Make sure you're all the way up against that template from left to right of that board. Make sure that you're all the way up against it. And I'm not going to mess with getting filler gauges out. I'm going to just loosen this up and move it out, just a guesstimate as to what I need it to go. What it was off. Then I'm going to cut them again. But that is as flush as you can possibly get it, or as flush as I could possibly get it. That is a good looking half blind. That'll do it for this one. I hope that's helped you. I'll have links in the description to everything, the cone for centering your base plate, the previous videos, the through dovetails, the box joints, all that, and also to Chad's place of purchase for these little templates. He's selling them online now, and you can order it online, and you can have one of those right there for your own. So if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. Check out that playlist. If you've got this jig, you'll want to check out that playlist. And until next time, thanks for watching.